Hello everyone, welcome to SAFC Fan TV, and we are on Thursday Night Live. Tonight I'm joined by our guest Jacob. How are you doing, Jacob?
Not too bad, mate. Recovered from a pretty heavy away day down at Leeds on Tuesday, and yeah, one of the best atmospheres I've seen in an away end this season. I can't wait to talk about it tonight, but also looking back at the Bristol point as well, but also previewing the weekend's trip to West Brom.
Yep, loads to go through. Jack, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not 100%. I've got a little bit of a dodgy chest at the minute, so hopefully it's nothing serious. But I'm plenty good enough to talk about Sunderland. I'm never that poorly. I'm always up for a chat about Sunderland. Plenty to discuss, as there always is. So yeah,
you've got enough energy to be the comments guy again, yeah?
Oh, just about. I think I'll just about manage that, to be fair. Hopefully we can get some interesting topics coming in from the comments, and I'll come to them in a bit.
Excellent. Right, yes. So as mentioned, we've got 2 games to go through and then a game to preview. And we'll talk a bit in the middle as well. That's the agenda. You can tell I've not done this for a while, can't you? You know, been sat down renegotiating my contract with Wee Philly for the last 2 weeks. That's why, you know, I've not been here. Right, so Bristol City game. We'll come to you first, Jacob. It looked like the Sunderland of old to me, where we have 20-odd shots, you know, and not getting a goal out of it. So flashbacks from earlier on in the season. What did you make of the Bristol City game? Were you there?
No, I wasn't. I just watched it in the house. I was particular. I think what most fans were looking for was a good reaction following the absolute dismal display against Blackburn on Monday. I think particularly in the first 45 minutes, I thought the lads gave us that. I thought every time we came forward, it looked like we were going to score. Having Jack Clark start a game, I think, helped a lot. It was good to see him back on the pitch. But even some of the lads who had a shocker on Monday, I thought responded pretty well with a decent performance. The likes of Ekwa, for example. I thought he done pretty well in the middle of the park. At the back, Ballard and 09 looked more solid. There was a moment just before half-time where 09 done well to clear that effort off the line and for Patterson to regather. But second half, the energy levels dropped a little bit. It was a bit disappointing. I thought they were there for the take, and I thought they weren't too bothered to come to our place and try and win the game. I think a point was pretty much satisfactory for them. Mm-hmm. We done all we could, hit the woodwork twice, but yeah, it just wasn't to be. A 0-0 draw, but I'm happy was happy to keep a clean sheet considering we conceded 5 a few days before.
And what did you think of the decision to start Bellingham up front for that one?
It's the best we've got right now in that position, to be honest with you. I think the other lads we've got to choose from, it's definitely going to be our main talking point going into the summer window. But to end the season, I think even probably Bellingham himself doesn't know fully where he feels he's best at playing right now. But in terms of his overall finishing ability, I think he's the best we can go with.
Yeah. Jack, we'll come to you on that one. Get your thoughts on the game. But just wanted to mention as well as Bellingham starting up front, we also saw the wonderful return of Bradley Dack. Andy hit the woodwork. So it almost proved me wrong on many accounts during the commentary. So what do you think, Jack? What was the Bristol game? What was your thoughts on it in general?
Well, on Bradley Dack, I thought he actually looked a bit sharper than I was expecting. He looks like he slimmed down to me a little bit. It looked like he's carrying a little bit of weight early in the season. I think he's definitely slimmed down, and he looked sharper. You know, you can see that the touches and the movement looked a bit better. It's sad that it's taken him 40 games into our season to get to this level, and probably he's not going to be getting a new contract next year. Maybe he's putting himself in the shop window, Mike. Maybe that's what he's doing. He knows that we're not going to renew his contract. Yeah. And maybe he's just getting fit and thought, I'll play for the last few games, so teams are wanting players in the summer. I don't know, but he came on. I have to credit him. He did look sharp, and he looked a bit more like the player that Tony Mowbray thought he was signing, you know, because Mowbray spoke about him so highly, didn't he? You know, the technique, and I can't believe we've got a player at this level, and he should be playing higher. So maybe he's just putting himself in the shop window, but he did look better. And Bellingham up front, yeah, I agree with what Jacob says. We haven't got that many options up front, have we? So we have to try and work out what's best. And I think Bellingham, he does look a little bit sharp in the final third, and he's most likely of most of our strikers to probably get a goal. Overall on the performance, yeah, we were more solid, and that's the main thing. We gifted so many cheap goals against Blackburn. Me and Jacob mentioned it last week on the show, and we were just so sloppy. we gave away so many easy goals against Blackburn, and really, a clean sheet. We did everything but score. On another day, that would have been a 1-0 win or a 2-0 win. You'd be coming away saying it was a really good performance and a good win. That was the only thing missing, but we've spoken about it plenty of times on this show that we do like a bit of cutting edge in the final third, so no surprises there. But we're unlucky as well, because to hit the bar twice and their keeper pulled off 2 or 3 really good saves, that's a bit of bad luck as well. On another day, one of those goes in. But yeah, much improved performance. We were the better team. Still gave away a couple of chances, but a lot more solid at the back compared to what we were like against Bristol, against Blackburn, sorry. I'll just go up the chat before I come back to you, Mike. So we've got Conrad, Tank and David Brown are on the chat tonight. Mackham73 and David both say evening, lads. And Emma, our very own Emma, says evening, lads. And David Joblin is involved. He says V. I think he means hello or how are the lads? But yeah, V to you too, David. If that's what you mean, hello, then we'll take that as a hello.
V for victory. We're still chasing one. So we definitely made O'Leary look really good in their goal, I thought, for the Bristol game. As well as he did pull off some good saves and we did hit the woodwork, but some of the shots that I thought Clark should bury were kind of straight at him. He looked maybe a touch rusty coming back from injury. What did you think of Rigg starting, Jacob? And I'll just put my little 2 cents in there. I don't understand why we're not starting Mundle more, but let me know what you think of Rigg starting and the lineups he chose for that.
Personally, I think with the Rigg situation, they want him to get as much game time as they can now, where he's got a better sell-on value regarding his contract situation. I mean, I know he can't. I think he has to wait till he turns 17 for him to sign a first proper scholar. I think that's how it works. Correct if I'm wrong, but yeah, I think someone like him typifies what the board want in terms of players being out on the pitch, in terms of the quality they have and what they can offer for the foreseeable future. I think he typifies that at this moment. There's obviously another player that plays in this position is Dak, who I thought done quite well when he came on Saturday. But let's be honest, Dak's going at the end of the season, and Rigg has got, let's just hope, fingers crossed, there's an opportunity for him to stay here and develop his career further. And with, another key midfielder likes of Dan Neil be linked away, Chris Rigg, he's got a slot to fill potentially for next season if Neil goes, because he's got the capability of doing that role. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's going to be as good as what Neil can offer right now, but he is still very early on in his career, and with the scout reports that's been placed on him and the clubs he's been linked with, to have a player on our books like that, you've got to take it for granted. You really have to take it for granted. And yeah, I'm all for. I think he will start our remaining 4 games this season because of what he's worth to this team at the minute and what he can offer.
Yeah, trying to show him the value that we can give him back, sort of thing. Jack, that lineup for Bristol, one that didn't impress me was Alshish. I don't think he did very well on that game at all. Looked a bit lost, in my opinion. What did you think of the lineup that Dodds played for Bristol?
Yeah, I thought it was better, to be fair. I thought he got a little bit more right compared to how poorly he got against Blackburn. Ashish, I agree. I don't think he played badly. He just wasn't as involved. He had one of his best games against Cardiff for us a couple of weeks ago, and then since then he's played 2 or 3 times and he hasn't really done much. He's gone back to the Ashish of old. You were hoping this was going to be the one, but you start to think how many chances are we going to give him? He's going to have one good game and then have 3 or 4 where he doesn't play well and he's out the team for a while. So I hate to write him off, but sooner or later you're going to start saying what point do you stop giving him chances? Maybe just say he is flattering to deceive a little bit. I like him when he plays well, but he's just not consistent enough, has he? Chris Rigg, yeah, he gets better all the time. He's even better now than he was at the start of the season. You can see how much he's developed, how confident he is on the ball. I was watching him against Leeds, and he was just confident on the ball. He was taking the ball, nice little touches, passing it, laying it back, trying to turning and taking on the defenders and getting involved. And I don't think he was like that early season. He looked a little bit, not rabbit and headlights, but not as confident as he is now. So you can see he's developed already, and yeah, who knows what role he'll play. I'll try and give him as many games as I can towards the end of the season. I don't really see what we've got to lose. We might as well, in this position. We're not going to be in this position again, are we? So
yeah, Jacob, do you want to be in there before we move to the Leeds game?
Yeah, the best thing I like about staying with Rig Mike is, I mean, the Leeds game, you could be more sceptical with him a little bit because we were set up in a certain way to stop them from scoring. But in that Bristol game, and whenever I've watched him play, he always looks for a forward pass. Very rarely he looks to give the ball, to whatever players behind him. He will try and run into space and play forward. And that's what we need. But looking at our squad at the minute, I think the problem we have in terms of the midfield, we have too many players who want to play in that number 10 role. It all fighting for what, and we're having to say to one or two, listen, you're going to have to sit deeper if we're going to go with two holding midfield players, which is the current system we're playing right now, which is obviously annoying to see. I mean, one or two may potentially be out the door in the summer, but yeah, it definitely won't be Rig.
But if you've got underperforming defensive midfield and you've got overperforming attacking midfield, should that not change your formation naturally? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we changed it more for a reason. We were playing again on Tuesday. We'll come into it a little bit, come onto it in a bit, the Leeds game, but it was more in terms of the quality of the opposition, which is why we tweaked it a little bit. I mean, there was some even al-Sheesh at times where normally you'd associate him lurking in and around the box. He was dropping back and doing some defending on Tuesday as well. So, yeah, it's more for that. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what he does at West Brom at the weekend, a team who are also up there fighting for promotion. I don't think it will be as defensive as it was at Leeds, but yeah, only Dodds will know the answer to that. But I'd hope he'd want to go for it a little bit more in terms of how we set up.
Yeah, definitely. Before we move on, Jacob, did you have a man of the match for the Bristol game?
Man of the match, I would say Ekwa done quite well, but I thought Clark, whenever he got the ball, without him on the pitch, we didn't look like scoring at all. To be honest, it was so good to have him back. It was like he'd never been away. I know he played against Blackburn coming off the bench in that dismal game a couple of days before, but that was really just to find his fitness. When he'd started that Bristol game, it's like his movement, beating players. There was a moment second half where I think there was 4 Bristol players around him and he still managed to beat all of them and get into the box. I think it was the moment where, didn't he roll it to Job for a shot and Job ended up...
He couldn't find his feet in that game, could he? He could not find his feet in that game. There's a few moments like that. So you're going to go for Clark then, yeah?
I'll go for Clark.
Right. Jack, let's have your Bristol man of the match before you jump on the comments.
Yeah, it was tough because there was 3 or 4 played well, 3 or 4 the ones that he's already mentioned. But yeah, Clark, I thought Ballard had it. They were more solid at the back. I thought Ballard and 09 both had much more assured games. So yeah, just to be different, I'd maybe give it to Dan Ballard. Clean sheet. He's a real solid defender, isn't he, Ballard? You know what you're going to get from him. Contrast to 09, who's a little bit haphazard sometimes. He's a little bit crazy. I'm always certain when Ballard. I think if Ballard plays well, we have a good chance of winning the game because we're probably going to keep a clean sheet more often than not. So I'll probably, just to be different, I give it to Ballard. He wasn't spectacular, but he was a bit more like the Ballard we've seen most of this season. Just come on to the comments. So SJ says, it's strange how Bristol City hammered Blackburn and they hammered us, even though they drew against Bristol. Yeah, so on that argument, Bristol City probably should be able to beat Blackburn maybe 10-0, you know what I mean, rather than the 5. I should have beaten us 10-0, should I say. But that's just not how football works, is it? No. You can never predict results. If we could, we'd all be millionaires because we'd be betting and everything, wouldn't we? So we'd be able to make thousands. Kyle McNee says hello to Jacob. Not sure what me and Mike have done wrong, but he's only saying hello to Jacob. So hello from Kyle. One half of the Nesbitt brothers, John, says, hiya boys. David Brown is in. He says Kiefer Moore would be a useful role model for Joe Bellingham. Well, I think it goes without saying that somebody like that would have been ideal for us this season, but we've done that argument to death loads and loads of times on this podcast, but absolutely he would have been ideal for us. David says, has Neil been linked to a German club? I don't know if either of you two know anything about that. I haven't personally heard anything of that.
Not at the minute.
But Bristolian Mackham says he thought Pemberley was man of the match. I'm not sure if he's talking about Bristol City
no,
or
I think
Leeds.
it'll be Leeds.
I thought he was better against Leeds. In fact, did he even play against Bristol City? I don't know.
No, he didn't come on.
No. I was going to say that. There we go. Then. So Bristolian Mackham says Pemberley man of the match against Leeds, and Mickey Max the last one in. He says evening chaps.
Excellent. Right. Well, speaking of Leeds, we will move on to that one. Equa was my man of the match for Bristol, just because, someone's got to sing for that lad. Anyway, we'll go to Leeds. Kind of the opposite of the Bristol game. It wasn't us hammering shots at a goal. It was Leeds hammering shots in our general direction, but not many on target. Maybe a testament to our defence. What did you think of the performance at Leeds, Jack? Did you go to that one?
I did, yes. We went down. We had a bus on. It was a really good day. We had got a workman's club outside the ground and made our way to Elland Road. I've only been there twice. We haven't played Leeds away that many times when you think about it in recent years. Yeah. But it's always Sunderland Leeds has just got a special feel about it. Two big clubs, let's be honest. Even though we don't like Leeds, we want to be playing them rather than some of the teams that we've been playing this season. But yeah, I agree with what Jacob said earlier. It was a cracking away day. It was just excellent. Backs against the wall. We knew what we were going to be getting from Leeds. They're going to be dominant on the ball. They're going to be pushing men forward. They're going to try and get the crowd involved. But I think that was one of our best defensive disciplined performances of the season and for a long, long time. I mean, not many teams will go to Elland Road and keep Leeds so quiet like we did. I mean, yeah, we'll come on to the incidents that we got a bit of luck with from the referee, but we really restricted them to sort of just pinging shots from anywhere. And am I right in thinking that they didn't have a shot on target the full game? I think they had one shot on target in 90 minutes. Well, I'll take that. I mean, obviously, the only downside is that we didn't win the game, but I think if we'd opened it up, I know we were saying you have a real good goal the last few games, but you've got to realise who you're playing. You've got to realise the potential that Leeds have. If we'd opened that game up, Leeds could have got an early goal. That could have been another 4 or 5-0, and then we would have come in home here, and it would have been a terrible another hammering. So we had to be disciplined, but I thought we were. We tracked them, we covered them, we put our foot in when we needed to. And yeah, really, really disciplined performance. And yeah, I was happy with it, confident. Really, 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 really pleased.
Yeah, they seemed to hammer us at the first 5-10 minutes, and we thought, oh God, this is what's coming. But there was moments where we took control, and I thought we could go for a win. I'm never one to say I'm happy with a point, but obviously at the end of it, I am happy with a point. It's better than losing, but I thought we could have gone for a win. Jacob, what do you think? Obviously, the setup was different. Pembele and Styles both in the defence. And to be honest, I thought Styles had one of the best games we've seen from him. What did you think of the performance at Leeds?
Well, first of all, when I was walking to Elland Road and I saw the lineup he put out, I was thinking, Dodds, what are you doing? Pembele, we'd not seen him for... When was the last time Pembele kicked a ball?
Jacob, tell me a game in the last 6 months that you've not thought something similar to that when the lineups come out.
Well, no, this one in particular. I can understand the way how we were setting up, but there were Styles on the pitch, Pembele on the pitch, and yeah, I was just confused. I didn't get what I personally would have thought, because Leeds have got a lot of pace in their side. I thought the way how he performed coming on at left back against Bristol, Elise, I thought would have been even a better option. I'm pretty sure he can play on both sides as well, but yeah, I think in terms of how we approached the game and our game, players who came in to basically adjust the way they play a little bit in order to stop them from scoring. I thought we done brilliantly. I thought Styles as a left wing back, because there's games where he's played just solely as a left back, done really well on that side to cope. Yeah. Was he marking Somerville?
Yeah, and that lad's got some pace as well.
Yeah, I thought he done quite well to contain him as well. But what was behind him, 09 and Ballard, they were back to their best as a pair. Done really, really well. Even though we're a bit unfortunate second half with some decisions that should have really gone Leeds' way watching the replays back. But yeah, I thought we were organised. Everyone chipped in with a decent shift. Ballard, my man of the match, absolutely stunning. He was literally had Bamford in his back pocket for the majority of it. And like what Jack said, for them to, a side who's been unbeaten at home all season, to have one shot on target in 90 minutes, it just shows our game plan worked down to a T. We were brilliant on our and the way we set up and what we aimed to do, we executed it with perfection on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Jack, you wanted to be in that?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what he was saying. I think what I really liked was we smelt the danger on Tuesday night, didn't we? Do you know what I mean? We didn't do that against Blackburn. We were so open. They were getting in and playing the little through balls and getting into holes and drifting off. And we conceded 5 really, really poor goals. Bristol City defensively, yeah, we were better, but we were on the front foot. So this was going to be a real test for me. How are we going to cope here? And as I say, I think if we conceded early, it could have been a really bad night. But when Leeds did have opportunities, we snuffed them out. And I'm not scared to say it. A couple of times we did cynical fouls, yellow cards and things like that. But that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to take one for the team. You have to realise when the counter-attack's on and get a yellow card and put your foot in. And if it means stopping the attack and doing what you need to do, then that's fine. I think that's where we've gone wrong a little bit this season. I don't know whether it's because we're a young side. We have been a little bit naive defensively. I think sometimes, we've allowed teams to attack against us too quickly and too easily. So I thought that was really, really good. You could sense in the crowd as well. The Leeds crowd and the Leeds players, they were getting frustrated. Last 20 minutes, half an hour, they were thinking, we haven't had a chance. This is not like what we normally play. And that's a real testament to how well we played. Yeah. I'll just go into the comments before I go back to you. So Restolian Macklin says, yeah, he was talking about Leeds. He's only just joined. Liam Brennan says, West Brom 2, SAFC 2. Well, he's jumping the gun a little bit, Liam. We will talk about West Brom later on in the show. Emma says, our own Emma says, Leeds was a good point for us. A few of them put a good shift in. I think everybody put a good shift in, to be fair. SJ O'Nien pretended to be Maradona. And then he had the cheek to shake his hand and making out like he'd hurt his hand. We'll come on to Luke O'Nien, I'm sure. And a fantastically named Beanburger Man. All right, lads. He lives just outside of Leeds. Most of his mates are Leeds fans. They've done nothing but moan all week about the penalty decisions. So he's had some fun the last couple of days. Well, you enjoy that because they probably expected a 3 or 4 nil, as a few of us might have in this chat, but they didn't get it, Beanburger Man. So you enjoy that. Just one more thing as well. Like or comment. So if you're watching us, can you drop us a like? We'll try and get to 100 every show and keep the comments coming. Back to you. Sorry.
Cheers, Jack. No, appreciate it. We'll go into that now, though, with the penalty decisions. So it was obviously, I mean, for me, that's a perfectly natural position for a defender to jump, right? Like this. There's nothing. I don't know what the ref's on about. I really don't. But obviously, it wasn't just that. It was Ballard leaning his elbow in towards Somerville, I think it was. And then obviously the cushioning. I think Luke O'Nien was protecting the player's face from a ball impact. He should be credited with it. So what do you think of the penalty shouts, Jacob?
Well, the 09 one, it was different at the time. We didn't really. We just heard the Leeds fans go absolutely ballistic at what they thought should have been a penalty decision. Well, I couldn't really tell until we watched it down on the screens of how obvious it really was. But it was, from a linesman's point of view, there was a lot of bodies for him to see what was going on, unless it was a tall liner on that side and he had a perfect view of it. But yeah, from a ref's point of view, that he hasn't really got a leg to stand on, not giving a decision like that. But yeah, I can understand your point, Mike. When you jump, your arms do go in an unnatural position when you're trying to head the ball. But it's the unfortunate rules of the games today. If defenders in that scenario could play with handcuffs on, they do that, to be honest, to stop them from giving away penalty decisions for handball. But yeah, one of those we got away with that. And the Ballard one, I can understand Leeds fans' frustration, but we have seen a lot of them, to be fair, a lot of them that haven't been given this season. So yeah, it was just bad luck of the draw on Leeds' point of view. They'll probably next game, whoever they got, end up getting the decisions going their way. So, but it was nice luck was on our side on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a rare occurrence, Jack, for the decisions to go our way. Well, that's what I feel like when I'm doing the commentary for this channel. Sometimes it feels like refs are always against us. So got away with a bit of a hand of God moment. What did you make of the situation? I assume you've watched them on replay as well.
Yeah, well, I was pretty much three or four rows up. So I was watching the officials, and I'll come on to the penalty incidents in a second, but I don't think the officials had a very good game at all. I thought every 50-50, whether he give it to us or Leeds, he tended to get wrong, the referee. So he was allowing play to go on when it needed to be pulled back and vice versa. He was then letting the Leeds players con him into dropping down easily. And then a couple of times he gave us bookings when he'd let more harsh fouls go a few minutes ago. So there was no consistency. Also, the linesman, fourth official, whatever you want to call him, down on our side, I'm not being funny, but he looked like he was nearly about the same age as my dad. He looked like he was about 50-odd-year-old. And he was slow. So he was 5 yards behind when the ball was going down and he was trying to get the offside. He was really, really slow. So I had no confidence on him. So thankfully, them being so incompetent has actually worked in our favour. But I think us getting decisions, Mike, I think every team up and down the land are going to say, we never get the decisions. I think everybody's got that. Because the issue is, Mike, when you don't get them, they really stick in your head. And when you do get them, they don't. So they're like, you think of all the ones you haven't had. But moving on to the incidents themselves, I think 09's is nailed on, isn't it? I mean, if that's in front of the South stand last Saturday, you'd be absolutely screaming and you'd be wanting it. So I don't know what he's doing, whether or not he's just out of balance or whether he hasn't timed his jump very well. The Leeds fans were saying it was definitely going in towards the goal. I'm not sure it was, whether Patterson would have had it covered or whether or not there was enough pace on the ball, but it was a handball. It's a definite penalty. We've got away with one there. The Ballard one I thought was a little bit more borderline because, yes, he's leaned in, but I'm not sure that's not an unnatural position to try and stick your arm out a little bit. So I thought 09's absolutely 100%. Ballards, you've seen them given, you haven't seen them given, but to get away with both of them, we have done pretty well there. That is, that we were lucky. Just thought from 09, it's like I like him. Well, I didn't used to like him. I have begrudgingly started to like him, but he's never going to change. He's been in our team 6 years, and you're always going to have that. And I know our fans love him, but you're always going to have that mistake in 09, aren't you? And luckily, he got away with it, but he's a bit of a car crash sometimes, isn't he, at the back? So, yeah, it's just you're never going to change him now after 6 years, are you?
Do you not think he suits that Maradona comparison? He's got a bit of that cheeky check about him as well, hasn't he?
I wish he was I wish he was a tenth as good as Maradona.
Jacob?
It's performances like that from 09 at Leeds on Tuesday which makes that Blackburn defeat more frustrating. Just the fact that you were just so on it. There was a moment in, I think it was the second half of the game where I can't remember what Leeds player it was, whether it was Dan James or someone. It might have been Dan James actually, or Rutter in the midfield. Luke O'Nien just literally smashed into him in a 50-50. And yeah, it's stuff like that from the game plan that we had that just brings the best out of 09, to be honest. Like, his passion's 100% there, him booting the ball into the away end at full time as well, giving it massive cheers. Yeah, that's 09 at its best, but when 09's not on it, it's a car crash to see.
Yeah. So not getting goals is not a new thing for us this season. We all know the striker issues. We've talked that to death, as Jack mentioned before. But how much has Patterson had to play in these 2 in a row clean sheets? What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, well, I think he had a couple against Bristol City towards the end. They started to come later on in the game, didn't they? Start to come at us a little bit more, and he did pull a couple off. But against Leeds, I think he didn't really have that much to do, did he? I can't recall him making any saves. Like we said, he hasn't had a shot on target. He did come and get a couple of corners and free kicks, come and got a couple. I was a little bit wary, though, as I always am with us in set pieces. We're not the tallest of teams, are we? And when other teams come up against us, I am always a bit of a worry when you see 4 or 5 of the big lads coming up. Most teams have 2. Well, every team has 2 big centre backs, but a lot of teams have a big centre mid and some have big wingers and a big striker. And 5 of them come towards. So I always think that's one area of Patterson's game. I was going to say 09's game. Patterson's game where I think he could improve. I think he could be a little bit more commanding. And maybe not that style of goalkeeper, but I would like to see him coming for corners and being a little bit more aggressive. However, yeah, I think he's done okay. He didn't have that much to do against Leeds because of the rearguard action, though. So it's hard to judge his performance because, the defence was solid. So
I think we did see a bit more of that from him on some of the set pieces and some of the floating balls in. He did come out and take charge and get some punches on, which he doesn't usually do as confidently as he did. So I was quite happy to see that. What did you make of his performance over the last 2 games, Jacob?
Yeah, like what Jack said, though, he hasn't really had a big deal to do, really. I mean, there was a moment against Bristol City where I thought it was the incident where 09 cleared it off the line. It was the cross that had been put in. It looked like he'd spilt it, but luckily 09 was there behind him to help feed it back to him. But I thought in terms of his performance on Tuesday, yeah, he didn't really have a lot of shots on target for him to deal with. Mostly they went out for a goal kick, but I thought he commanded his box a lot better. He was a lot more talkative with the corners they had, getting players into position, marking the right people. I thought that's what we want to see more. That's what we want to see more.
His distribution seems to be getting better, where he's not giving out these hospital balls as often, and he is willing to kick a bit more. I think
the most frustrating moment. There's times when the game gets stretched where he plays these goal kicks where they don't even get past the halfway line, and they go out for a throw on like the nearer side of the pitch instead. Which, that he needs to cut that out of it, because that could cost us if we're up against a side that can counter attack quickly on the break. But Patterson a lot better on Tuesday, commanding his defence, I should say.
Yeah. Excuse me. So, Jacob, who's your standout performance? Who's your man of the match for that game?
Man of the match. It's a difficult one. I thought each player put in a really, really good shift, but I thought Luke 09 was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant in that game on Tuesday. Everything,
even with the hand, even with the risk,
even with the hand, yes, absolutely. But as I think him and Ballard, as a listen, if you could share out the award to him and 09, I'd want to do that. But yeah, if I had to pick one, 09, fantastic.
Yeah. Do you think that was, I know we're doing man of the match, I'm sorry to go back a bit, but do you think that was rubbing salt in the wounds when the cameraman, I don't know if you saw on the replays if it was the same as the live, but the cameraman panned to 09, he's going, I mean, if a ref's seen him do that and he's still not give the handball.
It's only until I watched it. I mean, at the time, I think a lot of our end were focused on the funny frustration from the Leeds fans, the fact that it wasn't given, I think, until we watched it on our smartphones afterwards, where we thought, yeah, that sums up Luke 09 down to a T. Yeah, another brilliant watch my language shithousery moment.
You can't go out without saying that. It's fine. That language is fine. Jack, what do you think? Man of the match for that game and standout performers for you?
Yeah, 09 did well, other than the daft moment which we've spoken about. I gave Ballard Bristol City, so I'll give it to somebody else. Pemberley, I thought had a really good game. I agree with, don't know who it was said earlier in the chat that I thought, Bristolian Mackham said Pemberley, I think. I agree with him. I thought for someone who hasn't played very much, probably lacking a bit of match fitness, he was solid up and down the wing. I think I only saw the winger get past him once, maybe. Which in 90 minutes, considering Leeds had a lot of the ball and the game was played an hour half, I thought he was much better. But I thought Ekwa did well on Tuesday night as well. He was sort of marshalling the back four or back five, as it was, a little bit better, a little bit more than we'd seen in recent weeks from him. His positional play was better. Now, I don't know if that was just because it's easier to be, more defensively disciplined when your team's in your half most of the time. It's sometimes a bit harder when you're getting counter-attacked and things like that. So it might have been easier for him to play that way, but I thought he was better. And we've already spoken about Rigg, how confident Rigg was on the ball. He's getting it, he's spinning around, he's looking forward, he's trying to link up with the attacking third. And it's difficult against Leeds because you're not going to get many opportunities to get forward. But I thought he was trying, and he was doing okay on the ball. So any one of those, but if I had to name one, I would probably say Pemberley.
Do you think Pembello was just brought off for fitness then, because he's not had that match time?
I think so, yeah. I think so. He's hardly played. I think he's only played 6, 7, 8 games across the whole season. So it was probably a fitness issue. I'll just come on to the chat. There's a few messages. MS says we were very, very lucky. The ref couldn't see the Ballard, or Luke was very, very lucky, sorry, and couldn't see the Ballard one, a bit too soft. If we had VAR, would have been screwed. Well, absolutely. They've given at least one of those, if not both. James Ramsey says, evening, lads. I think it's going to be 2-1 to Sunderland. We'll definitely talk about West Brom in a few minutes. John Nesbitt says, what about the Will Still? Big rumours. Okay, we'll also come on to that in a minute. It's like they know what we're going to talk about. It's like they're predicting the future, what we're going to mention.
If you want a job, lads, just send us an email.
SJ says, Patterson needs some competition. We should promote Matt Young ahead of Bishop. He thinks Matt Young's better than Bishop. He's apparently a good talent coming through, and Premier League clubs are looking at him. Emma says Ballard or Luke for man of the match. John Nesbitt says if he comes, it'll be interesting to see what attitude Speakman has towards Will Still. And Paggett says he loves Luke O'Nien. I'm sure most Sunderland supporters do. Paggett, you're not alone in that one. Dean SAFC says O'Nien's a good player, but an accident waiting to happen. I would agree with Dean. I think he is. You know, we've seen his value over the last few years, and he's been a great servant, but he's always got that in him, and he's not going to change. That's his game. He's not going to change now. And last comment, SJ says, can't see Will Still coming here if they want 4.5 million compensation.
Mike, you're on mute.
I've done a Terry. You wanted in Jacob during that last one. Have you still got a point there before we move on?
It was about what was I going to mention about Pembele? It's weird to think how if he can put in a shift like that he's not really had a look in the past month or two. I know there was a pit in that 6 defeats in a. I think he came on against Huddersfield and he looked very, very ordinary at best. But I do sort of agree with Jack. It's sort of easier as a defensive player to know your role when a lot of the opposition players are in your half, if you know what I mean. But yeah, Pembele, it's good because originally I thought it was a mistake. I thought he was on loan at first, but we've actually got him signed down permanently. But I do worry if he is going to be Hume's replacement. I think I'm not fully convinced yet. I think he has to put in a lot more effective performances on a consistent basis if he's going to show he can fill Trey Hume's boots if he was to leave in the summer. But yeah, encouraging to see a good performance against a decent opposition from Pembele the other night.
Yeah, Jack, did you want in there?
Yeah, just backing up what Jacob says there. I think if he's been a PSG, you know, and you're looking and he puts in a performance like that, there must be something there talent wise. Obviously, it's gone wrong for him, but I'm just wondering how much of it is a fitness issue. Is it because he's prone to injury and he can't stay fit enough? That PSG have obviously looked at him and thought you're not worth, you know, the wages, you're not worth persisting with, and that's how we've ended up having him. But if and it's a big if we can get him playing 25, 30, 35 games next season and he can try and reach that level of performance, he could be a real asset for us. I do genuinely think there's something there. I know I've watched him a few times who criticise him and says, yeah, he's a write-off, but something like the performance on Tuesday makes you think there must be something there with him. But it's surely fitness, and that's something that a player naturally has. Some players do naturally pick up more injuries than others, but if we can manage him the right way, I do think there might be something there. Whether or not he is going to be Hume's replacement or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting, definitely. He's definitely one to watch. I thought that when we first got him, and it was a shame, like you say, that we didn't see more of him at the very start with that one. So people mentioned Will Still there. We'll briefly touch on that. I think, was it yourself, Jack, or was it Jacob? Like one of you said to me at the start about...
No, it was me. It was me, Mike. So... yeah, so there is a rumor on Twitter. I mean, it's you can't say how good this source is. It's from a French media source, but second tier podcasters mentioned it, and it says that Reims are preparing for the departure of Will Still this summer. The 31-year-old has repeatedly, and that's quite a strong word, repeatedly said he wants to go home to England, and has previously expressed an interest in managing and then it says in brackets, an ambitious championship club. Well, that's quite a controversial point on this podcast, isn't it? Whether or not we are an ambitious championship club, probably not as ambitious as some of our fans would like. But that is a rumour that apparently he's looking to leave Reims in the summer, and he's wanting an English championship club. So what do we think about that?
Was the compensation that was the big argument with Will Still? Was that timeline up in the summer?
I don't know, because somebody mentioned it on the chat. I think it was a few comments ago. Who was it? Let's say SJ says it doesn't think it'll happen because they won 4.5 million compensation. Now, knowing how, dare I say, tight our owners are, I'll be inclined to agree. However, if our owners have got him marked down as the number one man, and he's always been the number one man, maybe before even Mowbray, then maybe they might be willing to release him from the contract if that is their kind of bloke that is their yes man, so to speak, or their number one target. I don't know. Maybe they'd be willing to do that.
Jacob, what do you think? I know the will still blockers when we were talking about manager rumours before was also the fact that he'd want to bring his own staff with him.
Yeah.
And that our model wouldn't allow for that. So what do you think? Is this just more rumour mill fuel?
Well, it's always going to be more difficult to bring in a manager midway through the season after you've sacked someone, done quickly, him wanting his own staff, and the process rushed along in order to get the replacement done in for the fixtures you've got coming up. But I think when you've got the summer to prepare for, I think it needs to be agreed before the end of the season, but at the same time, it needs to be announced not long after the season's over. But I think it's a more smoother process. They've known that Dodds was going to be in charge of the team to the end of the season by February. That leaves them a 3-month window for them to select who they want the successor to be going into next season. But also, we don't know in terms of they might have different ideas regarding the coaching team, whether they want the likes of Dodds and Proctor to stay in their roles at the club, or they could decide they want to go in a different direction. Who knows? If Steele's been linked, I think it could be the fact that, you know, he wants a move back to England at any club, regardless whether that's us. If it is, then wish him all the best. But if the rumours are true that, you know, he's potentially looking to leave for us to get him in the summer, then there could be something in place where he'll be given more leeway in terms of selecting who he wants to bring with him. But yeah, I still stand by this. It's always going to be a big gamble, you know, not managed at that level, still a young lad, a lack of experience compared to other candidates. But, you know, there has been a lot of young coaches that have gone on to do well in this new modern era of the game we've seen now. I mean, take the likes of Rob Edwards, who's doing really well at Luton at the minute. Young coach to start with. He was sacked by Watford. People didn't give him a cat and hell's chance going into that Luton job. But yeah, look where he is now. So yeah, it's there's others to name as well. But
listen, as long as he doesn't affect our striker coaches, because we all know how awesome our striking coaches must be at this club. Jack, there's a few comments on Will Still. Do you want to go at the comments before we move on?
Yeah. So I will try and go back to where I left off. So Paul Havelock says, "Hiya lads, hi Mike, Jacob and Jack." Stephen Clark says he thinks if we got the right head coach in, some of these players would become a lot better. It's vital we get the right head coach in, absolutely. Bean Burgerman says, "Have you not heard anything about Job going to Lazio?" Might come on to that in a minute. I haven't heard anything about that. I'd like to hear what you all think about that. We'll maybe touch on that in a minute. John Nesbitt says he thinks we're not going to be ambitious. So when I mentioned about it being an ambitious championship club, he says that's not us, so he's not coming. Colin Major doesn't want Will Still. He says, I don't want him. And we've got Jim Nesbitt says, evening, John. Nesbitt brothers in the house. We've got both of the Nesbitts in tonight. SJ says the only other rumour is Danny Roll from Sheffield Wednesday. He has been mentioned. Jarrett Andy says, 09 is a liability. It has already been covered, but we have touched on 09. Sorry, Andy, you're a little bit late. Referring still, and I think he means wants him here 100%. So Jarrett Andy does want Will Still. Stephen Clark says Will Still sign a contract until 2025 and 4.3 million clause to release him, so he can see that happening. Last couple before I bring it back. Black Cat 72. Why are you so happy for everyone to be sold? We should be breaking our wage structure to keep these players and improve. And he doesn't rate Christian Speakman. And yeah, we'll leave it at there for now. But yeah, just my thoughts on Will Still. I can see it happening because I think he's been mentioned quite a lot in the last few months, hasn't he? And I always think if you get linked with him once or twice, but this is like the second or third time now that we're going for managers and he's been linked. So it's like sometimes there's no smoke without fire. And if that rumour is true that he is going to be there and he works under the model, then I can see it happening. And I agree with what Jacob says about young up-and-coming coaches now, because I think you are getting a lot of the likes of, Edwards, McKenna at Ipswich, Roll coming in Sheffield Wednesday, Michael Carrick to a certain extent at Middlesbrough. I think he's done a decent job. Younger coaches that are able to come in, they know the game inside out and they can develop young players. So yeah, I can see it happening. I'm not saying it will, but I can see it. I can see this one having a bit of legs.
Yeah, unlike the Defoe to be the coach rumour that I saw the other week. I wasn't sure how much stock I'd put in that one. If you were at the Leeds game, you might have seen stickers stuck around with QR codes. Did any of you see these and scan these, Jacob?
Didn't catch my eye, unfortunately, mate.
No? You know what I'm on about, though. I assume you've seen it online since.
Yeah.
So this is the worst kept secret in the club. You know, this is not knowledge, you know. Rumors still, guys. Don't hold me to this. But obviously, they're talking we're dropping Nike for 24-25 to go with Hummel. And we saw the rumors and the pictures of the Hummel kits before. We've seen it on our shorts. If you've not seen them, go and check them out afterwards. What do you think of this then, Jacob? Have you seen the Hummel kits? And what do you think of this guerrilla marketing technique?
I've seen one that was linked. I think that was back at the start of the year, which looks very nice, I must say. Very, very good. I think they want to go down with the away one, from what I've been told, down the Christmas tree looking kit from, was it the 92 final?
Yeah,
but
the
I think
I
think there's not a lot of I don't see a lot of truth behind that one, but certainly with the home one, I think if that's the one they're going to go with, then yeah, very, very attractive kit, I must say. And yeah, I think Nike, it's produced some nice kits for us, but listen, if Hummel are going to produce that for its first one, then yeah, fair play. I like what I see so far. Definitely an improvement on the home kit we've got this season, because I'm not a fan of the lack of red and white down this top bit here.
Yeah. Jack, did you see any of these QR codes? Did you give them a scan or anything?
I saw them, but I didn't scan them. I can't be faffing on with stuff like that, but I did see one or two. And yeah, I don't usually buy the football tops anymore, other than the odd one like here. I've got a couple of retro ones, and I've got this one, but I don't really tend to buy them. But if I see a home kit that I think looks really, really nice, and I do think the Hummel kits, the style of them just looks spot on. They seem to get it right every time, don't they? So I might be tempted, depending on what it looks like. Obviously, you'll have to see what it looks like first, but I do like a lot of teams that have Hummel as kits. So as long as they don't try and do something creative and deviate too much and add their own style to it, I think it could be quite an attractive kit. But we'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah, it's an interesting step when we consider the club's quite money motivated. You'd think that Nike would be a more profitable prospect than Hummel. Do you think you're going to see a drop in the ranges we offer at the club in general? Because obviously, production wise, Nike do everything, all our training kits, all the tracksuits, coats, absolutely everything. How do you think that's going to affect us?
I don't know. I mean, I'm honestly not sure, to be fair. I know we've got the Nike sponsorship and everything, as you say, all the training brands and everything, but it'll be interesting to see. I think you're probably going to do whatever's marketable, whatever's the most marketable, whatever's financial. But they might have actually listened to, because the fans have been saying it for a while, haven't they? Get Hummel in and have Hummel kits, and and if they have, then great. You know what I mean? Give the fans what they want. For once, with it, we might be getting our own way, but we'll have to wait and see. If it's a nice kit, and that's all makes all the difference. But Hummel could make a bad kit. Hummel could design a kit, and it might not be very nice.
Yeah, it stands good stead for our sponsor for this show, which is Retro Hub, which you'll see that's not plastered on Jacob's wall, it's just in front of him. But Retro Hub's a sponsor. I'll give you a quick sneak peek at the kind of things they do. Conrad set this up before. 5 points, whoever guesses whose mouse mat this is first.
Very good setup.
I was just going to say.
Did you spot the cup before the screen? That's the question. So that was Wayne's there, obviously. But yeah, that's really cool. They do all that retro stuff, and I think some of their. If you look at retro kits, I've got to look. If Hummel come in, I want them to do a ridiculous 80s sparkly goalkeeper kit. Do you remember them? Where the goalkeepers were in practically dazzle camouflage. Nobody remember them?
Live in the 80s, Mike, man.
Come on, you've seen history. Look, there you go. That was the
yeah.
goalkeeper kit, that kind of style and design. I'd love to see that back.
Tony Norman. Did he wear it then? Tony Norman?
Yes, yes, he's not that old, Jack.
Oh.
Right, moving swiftly on.
I'll just go to comments while I save myself there, Mike, because I think you're getting a bit wound up. Jim Nesbitt says, Will Still is gaming. I don't know if he means gambling, using Sunderland links to boost his profile. He thinks he'll jump ship. David Brown says, don't build up Will Still too much. He's an unknown quantity. Paul Havelock, maybe a little bit more transparency from the club on who we might bring in to the club for next season. Jarrah Andy is a big Will Still fan. He says, have you seen Will Still on fire? As long as it's not Will Grigg on fire, we're all right. Fascinating and impressive. KLD says, John Nesbitt says, KLD wants a young man. Only two things will happen for sure. That'll either be a disaster or it'll go well. Well, probably. Emma wants a retro shirt and thinks they should make enough. Paggard obviously doesn't want us talking about football tops. He says, it's how the team plays, not what the... Well, you're right, Paggard, but it's, we just want to try and bring other topics in. SJ says it's nice to have decent tops, though, Paggard. It is. He says as long as it's red and white. Stephen Clark says there's interest from Lazio, but also Real Madrid, Chelsea and Spurs. I think he's talking about Bellingham. Paul Havelock says if Hummel make the tops at a decent price, then that's the main thing. Bristol Mackham says Shea Given won that kit. Terry Arkle says, what do you think of Helder? And John Pemberton says Hummel tops are great. They were the best Sunderland tops that I owned years ago.
Yes, I do still remember Hummel tops, Anyway, we'll go on to West Brom. Okay, we'll come to you first, Jacob, on this one. Interesting fixture, always going to be a difficult one. I believe we beat them at their place last time we faced them, but our record in general is not great against them. And more so interesting is one of their starting players who's doing full 90 minutes at the moment is Mvia. After his comments.
Don't you?
Yeah, this is going to be the question that comes to you. Yeah, the curse of a player. But yeah, interesting because obviously when the rumours were going around, he said the only time he'd come back would be to Sunderland and nobody else, and then he signed for them. Difficult fixture this coming up. What do you think, Jacob? Do you think we should go out with the same sort of defensive lineup like we did at Leeds?
Even though West Brom, have been a decent side this season, I don't think they're as good. Obviously, the table proves us they're not as good as what Leeds are, but I'd like us to change our game. I think maybe add a little bit more creativity on the pitch in the final third in terms of tweaking the formation to accommodate certain people, but I still think will be as organised what we were against Leeds. But I think we've got enough capability to just go for it a little bit more, because when West Brom came to us, I remember last December we beat them 2-1. I didn't think they were that impressive, to be honest. I think they were doing pretty well at the time as well. I think they were still in a similar position to where they are now. So yeah, I mean, obviously they've added Mvia to that since they've been quite a decent side at home as well this season. But yeah, if we can be as organised what we have been the last two games, then I think we've got every chance of going there and getting some sort of result at least. So yeah, bring on the weekend, mate. Bring it on.
Yeah. So do you think you'd set up back to how we usually set up, or you wouldn't go for the defensive formation then? No.
I think you can play it similar against Leeds, but you can tweak it a little bit. I think he may make one or two changes on an attacking point of it, and maybe bringing the likes of Roberts back into the starting lineup, but taking someone out in order for him to do that.
Jack, difficult fixture. Obviously, the last two have been difficult fixtures in a way, especially the way we've performed recently. But I think this one particular is going to be a hard one for us. What do you think of the lineup, and what do you think we should do?
Yeah, just touching on our poor record at the Hawthorns. Last year was, I think, the 7th or 8th time I beat the Hawthorns. It was the first time I'd seen us win. So, yeah, we don't have a good record down there bar last year. And they're actually banging form as well, Mike. I've just been checking their recent form. They haven't lost since the middle of February when they lost to Southampton. I think in the game since then, they've won something like 4 and drawn 5, so they're on a really good run. So it is going to be a really tough game, this. I don't think we need to be quite as defensively rigid and organised as Leeds, as we were against Leeds. I thought we were very, very deep and at work, but I think we could play a little bit further up the pitch. The difficult one is, do we go 5 at the back again? I mean, I don't want to drop Pembele, but it's like, unless we move Hume to left back, and I know he's not a left back, but unless we do that and go Pembele at right back, Hume left back, 09 and Ballard centre backs, because if there's an option to do that, then I would like to see Pembele again. But I think he'll probably Pembele will be out again, which is unfortunate considering he played well. I think it'll probably be Hume, Ballard, 09 and Styles across the back 4. And it'll probably be somebody moved into, higher up the pitch, maybe a Mundle or a Bar or a Patrick Roberts coming in on the right hand side potentially and moving Rig in the middle. I don't know, but I agree with Jacob's overall point. I don't think we need to quite be as defensively disciplined as we were against Leeds, because West Brom are a good side, but I don't think they're going to dominate the ball and have us kept in our own half as much as Leeds did. I think we might have a bit more of an opportunity to play and hopefully score a goal, because we haven't done that in the last 2 games.
Yeah, do you think though? I mean, that if you look at the formation against Leeds, take away the fact that you're playing so deep, you could play quite an attacking formation with that 5 at the back when you've got the likes of Pembele and Styles who can get forward. Can you think of when we've played 5 at the back? I don't think we've performed really terribly when we've had that formation.
Oh yeah, I don't think it would be that out of the ordinary. I don't think it would be a terrible decision if we went 5 at the back again. I don't think you would look at it and think it's a hard game. He might do that. I just think Leeds are Leeds, and I don't think West Brom are quite up to that level. So I think we could potentially have a little bit more of a go. I'm not saying open it all out, because then we will probably lose the game. But I just think maybe change it slightly and have it, try and play a little bit higher at the pitch. That's just my thoughts.
Who's up front, Jacob? Who are you putting up front against West Brom?
For me, it's still got to be Joe, to be honest. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet after it was the Bristol City game that it did make me laugh, to be fair, where the crisp packets flying about on the pitch have found the net more than most of our strikers this season. So
yeah. we've not touched on that. That was horrendous.
That was shocking. That's on the telly, it looked horrendous.
It really did.
It looked like it was a Sunday league pitch.
But that's not the first time that's happened. Sorry, that's not the first time that's happened. It happens whenever there's a bit of wind at the stadium, like you seem to get. I remember we played. Do you remember the 2-1 Mags game when Richardson scored the free kick?
Yeah.
That was a windy day, and that had rubbish on the pitch as well. So I think it's any time there's wind, for some reason, it picks up the litter, and I don't know why, but it doesn't look very good when it's swirling around the pitch. I know what you mean.
No, it looked like somebody had been out and tried to do something about it at half time, because when it restarted on the second half, it was like, oh, it's actually. Then 2 minutes later, it was back to it. Yeah. There was tornadoes going around the technical area at one point.
one packet tackle Clark second half.
I was going to say a packet of knickknacks is our best player. No. I'll just go on the chat just before the last time I'll go to the chat before we wrap up. And SJ says, and Villa's bound to have the game of his life. Look at what you could have won, like bullseye. Paul Havelock thinks it's going to be 3-1 to Sunderland. David Brown says Saputio diving goalkeeper. John Nesbitt says it's a hard game on Saturday. West Brom are not under as much pressure in the playoffs. Well, I think they're probably under maybe more pressure because they've got more to play for, but I think that could spur them on. Jimmy Two Shoes, Speakman needs to explain us all in detail about the model, basic principles. We need a bit more detail. John Nesbitt says, have a great evening, everyone. He thinks it's going to be 3-0 on Saturday. Well, that'll do me. Paul Havelock says, we played some good football and we just lack in goals. And Stephen Clark says, there's a bottle of Jameson whiskey with a 92 Hummel shirt on it. So don't know how many likes we're on, but if you're still watching and enjoying, if you can try and hit the like button, we do try and get towards 100. I don't think we're there yet, but if you can try and get one more like, get a few more likes in before we finish.
Yeah. The bottle of whiskey, excuse me. The bottle of whiskey is on about, I think Sunderland posted it because they're hosting an evening with some of the old players. It's something to do with that. And they talk about retro strips there. So it's all gearing towards that announcement at some point, isn't it? So let's have your score prediction, Jacob, for this weekend.
I've always got but I think I think we'll set up, even though I don't agree with it, we'll set up similar to how we did against Leeds, but I think we'll nick it this time, so I'll go 1-0.
1-0. Jack?
Yeah, I think we will actually score on Saturday. I think we'll get on the score sheet, but I just think West Brom are banging form and they've got a lot to play for. So I think we might just be on the end of a narrow defeat. So I hate to be the negative one again, but I think West Brom might just nick a 2-1. But I think we'll have a bit more of a go, and I think we'll create a few more chances than we have done recently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do my usual 3-1, but I think Jacob could be close with the 1-0, possibly 2, but it'll all be last minute and it'll all be snatching, counter-attacking goals as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I think that's about it because we've hit our hour mark, gents. So Jacob, would you like to say goodbye to the people?
Goodbye, everyone. And as I always say on every show, keep the faith, especially if you're heading out to West Brom on Saturday.
Jack?
Yeah, and as I always say, thanks everybody for watching. We'll just be three blokes talking ourselves if we didn't get people commenting and liking. So thanks for getting involved and giving us plenty of topics. And see everybody later, lads and lasses.
Yeah, and from me, thanks for being here. Don't forget to hit like, leave comment on the video afterwards, and check out Retro Hub, the sponsor for this show. And we will see you all in the next one.